Welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast.
It's not over because that bitch is dead.
Let's delve into that a bit deeper.
I'm going to be like, there's peacekeepers between you two tonight.
Don't fuck with the original.
Yeah, don't fuck with the original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast, part of the You Run Podcast Network. My name is Katie, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Chantal. Hi, Chantal.
Hi.
So we're going to be doing something a little different for you guys for the next month or so. We've decided to do a little mini-series covering some of the incredible films showcased at the UK Film Festival FrightFest. We're so excited to introduce you to these films and give you a bit of our insight. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy.
Are you ready for film number 2?
I'm so ready. I was born ready.
Third time's the charm. Okay, so we are now covering Saint Clare, which was directed by Mitzi Peirone. Claire Bleecker is an average Catholic high school girl who lives with her grandparents after being orphaned. She seems normal, but Claire will do whatever it takes to protect loved ones when confronted by the evil she faces in her small town. Katie, what were your first thoughts on this one?
Again, went in completely blind, so didn't really know. I knew that Bella Thorne was involved, and that was about it. So yeah, didn't kind of have a lot of thoughts. I just kind of went straight into it. Really liked the title card. Yeah. Really loved that. I thought that was awesome. It was giving a lot of like religious analogy, but it was also just like really cool and gothic and horror. So I immediately just was hooked because I just loved that title card. I think it was cool. I really liked Bella Thorne's character. I thought she was very likable and almost kind of hilariously relatable in a lot of weird ways. I did get a slight Promising Young Woman kind of like vibe from this, ever so slightly. I mean, Promising Young Woman is like one of our like favorite films, but I did get an ever so slight vibe from it. Kind of also Jennifer's Body as well. I sort of got those vibes. So I liked it in general. I thought it was fun. Generally, I thought it was a good film. What about you?
So similar, actually. I really liked the opening with that and like how it started with like the choir singing and everything. I kind of expected the Catholicism to play a much bigger part. And I know she was obviously quoting the Bible quite a lot and she was referencing Joan of Arc, but it didn't overpower the film and it didn't lean into it so heavily that it kind of, if you took away the religious aspect, it wouldn't change the film because she could still idolize Joan of Arc because she was a badass and she's a historical figure. So I kind of liked that, how they kind of found that balance and it wasn't so focused on religion, only because I think, again, it would have kind of been a different film. But it is interesting when you read it, and that is one of the first things they mention, where actually if you took away her religion, it wouldn't really change it that much. Other than the chanting.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting to your point. Like, one of the things I struggled with this film is I felt like they were taking on too much. I felt like there was the missing girls aspect of it, which also brings in like the misogyny of the film and kind of like the patriarchy and things and how everyone's kind of given up looking for them. And then there was also these religious connotations when you rightly said, like, she could still quote Joan of Arc. She could still talk about her. They didn't really have to be that religious aspect in it. So for me, I did feel like they were juggling too many things. I did feel like they could have just focused on, because the idea that when you sort of wash away all of the glitz and glamour of it, the actual idea of it is really cool. So I think they could have just stuck with that and rode with it. I did think at some point it was kind of like, right, well, this is going on and that. And then she's also doing a play and it's kind of like, hang on a minute, like just put it back to basics because it's a great idea.
I also think, again, like in that description, it also only says like she'll do whatever it takes. I do think there's more to it than that. And actually, it was really interesting having a female in that role, because normally when it's like, again, you do get kind of your final girls, but this was a lot more than that. Like, a lot of the film wouldn't have happened without her. Again, trying not to give away spoilers, so I'm very aware I sound quite clumsy right now. But it was very interesting that the way her character was presented was as a sociopath, and she did play that very well. Because you could, she was really. There were scenes where she was lacking emotion. I was like, she's a sociopath. She's supposed to. And actually, the few times where her emotion was quite extreme was actually not extreme, but she was playing a lot more into it. She really nailed, and actually, she did really well. But it was interesting having a girl in that role, because you do get female sociopaths, you do get female psychopaths, but you predominantly see them played by men. Think Dexter. It is just the typical trope that we see. So I did really like it. But I did also, again, there was a couple of points in this that I don't think this was meant to be a dark comedy. Maybe it was, because I had it down as, I think it's a horror mystery. But there was a couple of points where I was almost chuckling to myself, mostly from Bob.
Same.
Bob.
Yeah, same. It was Bob, and then her as well. Like there were certain things that she did, like the comedic timing was on point, and some of the script was quite funny. But yeah, I mean, Bob, enough said. Like Bob, I think he did provide a bit of comic relief. I think he was there for that purpose.
He was giving American Werewolf in London vibes.
Yes.
Right? I was like,
yes, love that reference.
But I also, again, I feel like we can say Bob because he comes in so early as well.
Absolutely, yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, but also, I don't know, it was just the fact that I don't know, there was just a lot about, and the more you find out about Bob, it's just the fact that he's hanging out with her, it was just so funny. And I was like, this guy's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there was scenes where, was this set in England or was this one actually set in America? I got confused about that one point because I thought, because I did, when I looked up Saint Clare, on the wiki page, it does say is it an upcoming American comedy horror thriller. So I had to somewhere. Which, again, I was like, because if this was England, we don't have house raves like that. That's not really how our house parties go. So that was the only bit that kind of took me out. And I was like, where's this filmed?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was America.
Not a problem if it was. It was just after we'd done loads of English films back to back, and I was suddenly like, where am I now?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was America. Yeah, it's a very different film from Seven Keys.
Which was so clearly London.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think some of the script was very like comedic. It was quite witty. It was quite like quick on some things. And Bella Thorne, like, she surprised me. I kind of just remember her as, I think she was in like a Disney Channel thing or a Nickelodeon thing. I'm not too sure. I didn't really know what she'd been doing all this time, but like, she was great, to be fair.
No, I'll agree. I think she was really good. I think the other like female, I won't call them leads. It's hard because she was kind of like the only lead. Everyone else was kind of like a side character. But the other like girls who were playing her friends, they were really good in the sense that questioning her and then questioning, again, it's like questioning her friendship and her loyalty rather than just, oh, you sound crazy and all this. Like, no, you're like you could see those conversations happening because it was like nothing was making sense and nothing was adding up. And then just going along, and again, you're still questioning all these characters that you're meeting. You're questioning them through Bella, but I think there was a lot of that, like, you don't know who's hiding what, and I think that was really well played out in this.
Yeah, so true. So what would you say is your wow moment of the film?
It's hard. It's a toss-up between Bob. I just love Bob.
You can love Bob, man. You can love Bob.
I did love the ending. Which
is,
nice. Again, for this was kind of like a bit more happening. But actually, I kind of loved without giving things away, it wasn't as simple as it seemed. Although it did leave me with some questions.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It is a bit of an ambiguous ending.
Yeah. But that does leave room for Saint Clare too, I guess.
I guess so.
Maybe,
I guess so. Maybe.
I don't know if we'd need it because there weren't that many questions, but
No, I think you kind of know what's going to happen. Like, you know her by this point, you know how she's going to react to these things. Yeah.
What about you? What was your wow moment?
I'm actually going to agree with you, and I sound like I'm hugely contradicting myself because I've just said I felt like the film was, managing a lot of things, but I really love the red kind of light on her. It was sort of giving Giallo sort of vibes. There's a nice little horror reference there, and yeah, you just like you said, really, you just didn't really know how it was going to pan out. You kind of had an idea because we've got to know Claire over this film, but we don't know the ins and outs, and um yeah, it was just an ending I didn't expect, which was always really nice. And I think sometimes, well, not sometimes, but I mean, fairly regularly, in horror, there's a place for ambiguous endings and things that you don't really know. Because, I think sometimes with horror, you can get quite complacent where you want everything wrapped up in a nice little bow and you want everything to be. And I know that on the podcast, me and you and Charlie have spoken about it before, like how it's like, that's so frustrating. But I think a lot of the time there's a place for it. And I think in this film there was. And it was fun because it was kind of like, oh, what's Claire going to do with this information? So I thought that was really fun. So yeah. So what would you give it? Spookies out of 5?
I think I'm going to give it 3.5. I actually feel like I could go higher. I'm going to go with 3.5. I know it's hard. Again, probably not a film I'd rush back to. I think this one was a little bit long as well. I can't remember. I didn't do myself favors because I was having to watch quite a few back to back. So that's not on them. That is absolutely on me. However, I think it was a little bit long. And as you say, they were trying to do quite a lot, which I don't think is hard as well. Because again, as you say, like, oh, the play was happening, but then I kind of loved that play edition at the end. So I wouldn't lose it, but then maybe there was other stuff I would have lost because there was so much happening. And it's like, what could you have saved and not lost on? Or what could you have lost and not, yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's
about
fair.
you?
Yeah, I'm going to go for 3 out of 5. Thought it was really good. It's a solid film. It was enjoyable, and I definitely watch it again. But yeah, just to me, there was just a few things that there was just quite a lot going on. And I think that it was just quite nice, just kind of watching her and her story. I felt like there was quite a lot of stuff going on at one point, and it could have just been kept a bit more simple. So, but I really loved the Joan of Arc reference. Thought it was really cool. I think I've got the quote here: "Is everything I've said and done has been in the hands of God."
Everything I've said and done has been in the hands of God.
And I really love how like that's repeated throughout the film. I think that's sick. So yeah, I got a lot of time for this film. I like it. So a solid 3 out of 5 for me.
Who would you recommend it to?
I think, I know it's kind of a strange reference, but I do think like people that like sort of that vigilante kind of vibe, like Promising Young Woman. I think there are some aspects in there that do remind me of that ever so slightly. There is kind of like teenage angst mixed with a lot of sociopath kind of thing, which is fun. And like maybe, and as I was saying at the beginning, maybe people that like Jennifer's Body, that kind of thing, kind of slightly mixed with Mean Girls. Like it's all kind of, I don't know, like I think I kind of would recommend this to anyone. I think it's pretty enjoyable. I think there is something in there for everyone. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'd agree because as you say, I think it is that kind of like good for you kind of film. So, but again, almost like a teenagey film. So I could see some people that may put them off if they're like, oh, I'm not really into teenage horror, which I get. But again, it's kind of further away from Jennifer's Body, where it's still got those themes, but it hasn't got, school isn't really a big part of the film, isn't really a big part of their day.
Yeah.
There is a lot more going on. Yeah, so I think kind of someone who likes twists and turns, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go and enjoy Saint Clare. Is really good. It's good fun. And as we say with all of these, we'll try and link them as many places as we can so that you know where you can watch them. So keep an eye on our Instagram. We will be putting them up. And if again you've missed the post, missed the story, we will have a little, what do you call it, Instagram, a little memory story thing where you can check in to see where you may be able to find things. And yes, because we do want you to see all these really great films if it sounds like the type of film you'd enjoy.